We're on page 135.
Oh.
And we left this topic today because it's a new topic, as opposed to what we studied last time, which was about the Jews in exile. I'll take you back to page 132, in which the king tells the rabbi, what is even more far-fetched is that which other religions say, that a person will live eternally in paradise because of one word that he utters. He may know no other word his entire life, and he may not even understand what he's saying. How great must this word be if it transforms a person from the level of the animals to the level of the angels? This is obviously sarcastic, what he's saying. Furthermore, according to this view, one who never utters this one word will revert to the level of the animals, even if he lives his whole life as a wise philosopher, doing good and striving for angelic qualities all his days. Meaning, other religions are telling you, you say one word, you say abracadabra, you become their religion. It doesn't make a difference. The people in the other religions that work hard and that try to serve Hashem, they don't matter. As long as you said this one sentence, you're good to go. They don't even understand. You scratch the surface of them about religion and they can't even help you. The king says you can't believe this. So the rabbi is now in this paragraph responding to what the king said earlier in 135, paragraph 2. V'anachnu, and we, Jews, en anachnu mashvim im nafshotenu kol nichnas betoratenu b'milah bilvad. Now I have to give a preface before I translate this. The Kuzari is going to talk about something here that is uniquely, or not uniquely, but very classic of the Kuzari. It's in contrast to what I believe the Rambam's view would be, and we're going to discuss both of those views here. And it's about converts and conversions, and we mentioned this last class that there was going to be controversy here. But let's give him the respect of reading what he says and then discussing what he says afterwards. ואנחנו, in Judaism, אין אנחנו משווים עם נפשותנו כל הנכנס בתורתנו במילה בלבד. Not everyone could just utter a word and become Jewish. It doesn't work that way. You can't just come and say, I don't know, Allahu Akbar, I accept the Lord and Savior on myself. You can't, it doesn't help. Whatever you say, great, you said it. That doesn't make a person Jewish. In fact, it could be that a person can go through the whole Jewish conversion process and not say a word at all. Have to confirm things with his mouth or with his hands or with an action, but a mere utterance is not enough to transform somebody from non-Jewish to Jewish. Avad b'maasim, it takes actions. Shesh behem torach al hanefesh, that actually have some kind of burden, some kind of difficulty on the soul. Mitahora, from purification, v'limud, and learning Torah, umilah, and the Brit Milah, umaasim, this interesting translation of the word, umaasim toriyim rabim, and many Torah laws, and last but not least, v'sheinhag b'minhagenu, that he should observe our customs. This is an interesting point. Observe our customs. What do you think he's referring to here?
Whatever community he's
Behave
in.
like a Jew.
Yeah.
Whatever community he's in, there are certain hagim that are not halacha, but nevertheless, to be part of the group, you have to do.
So you're taking minhag literally, it's customs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. You're seeing it differently though.
Yeah, I mean to act like a Jew.
Could we throw this out? There are things that the Jewish community does that might not even be custom.
Mm-hmm.
But we're asking the person to adopt not just Jewish law or Jewish custom, but also just Jewish manner, Jewish, not tradition. And
Maybe dress, maybe.
correct. I mean, these are not halachot, but dress is interesting. You know, sure you can. Let's say you. Let's say a person converts to Judaism, and in their previous life, they were from Japan, and they're used to always dressing in geisha clothing. Let's throw it out to them. And they come to the Jewish community now. Is geisha clothing immodest? I'm sure you can find a modest dress, but it could be that when they come to Pesach on Shabbat, there's a to dress the way that other people dress.
In the community, so you go along
Less,
with it.
and I believe less here about looking the part as much as internalizing the fact that you are now part of a new nation. You're part of a Jewish community, and you want not to fit in and lose your individuality, but you want to be part of the Jewish community. I think you'll notice that people speak a little differently, though. And then none of these things are required to be Jewish, but it's literally the Kuzari saying it's an absolute transformation. It's this person being a completely different person. I had an interesting argument last week with a person who converted to Judaism, and they were Hasidic of some denomination I'd rather not mention. And they had this entire attitude. They were a convert. Understand what I'm telling you? I have a student of mine who's a convert, and they were attacking my student for stop pretending that you're really Jewish. Accept the fact that you're some second-class citizen.
What?
Yeah. This is a convert. Don't get. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
He's trying to convince other people, and he claims that according to Kabbalah, this is the discussion, and he tried to bring a proof that Ruth, who is our quintessential convert. Okay, maybe before you sit down, you see there's Igorot Moshe, the blue books right in front of you. On top of them, there's papers, and there's a brown book. Can you bring me the brown book, please? Shochev Lamala Sham. Okay. Thank you. He said Ruth, after she converts, it's called Ruth HaMoaviyah, Ruth the Moabite. So why do they still call her Ruth the Moabite? Must be because she didn't ever leave the status of being a Moabite, even though she converted to Judaism. Not a normal person. That's okay. It's absolutely wrong. But this is what he was trying to get at. What Rabbi Yonatan Halevy here is telling you is he literally becomes Jewish in all kinds of ways. It's not enough to walk into a church and say a word or jump into a beth, but it's a lifestyle change.
That's strange, right?
There's strange, a lot of strange people in the world. That's you know, the Lubavitch Rebbe had a famous saying, if you know Aleph, teach Aleph. Everybody should be a teacher of Judaism. Whatever you know, you should teach other people. And there's beauty in that, which is, you can't let the rabbis do everything. You have to help also on your own. But what that has created is a lot of people who only know Aleph, and they start teaching people Bet and Gimel and Dalet, and they still only know Aleph. And it's caused a lot of disaster in the Jewish community. That mentality. Not necessarily him. That mentality of everybody self-appoints themselves as a Judaic teacher. It's become a big problem. Because if they would just teach things that were true, fine, we'd be quiet. But they come up with all kinds of novel insights that are not novel. They contradict classic Jewish literature. And then it becomes a disaster.
But it's us to blame because if they either become Baal Tshuva or convert through a rabbi or a community, that's what they teach them.
So that's even worse. I mean, if someone is teaching them that's worse.
This is the way, and there's no other way, and this is the custom. This is how you should observe. So
Melodies. If I knew that they were, let's say I'm gonna make up. They were Visionists, yeah, and they teach everybody the Visionist way is the only way. At least I could say, this person is Visionist. But then you have people who are not talking about the Tshuva or converts, just Jews in general. Like it's all across the board. People who they think they're Judaic teachers, or they think that they're authorities in Jewish law, and they think that and they teach religion to other people, and they have all kinds of crazy ideas they didn't pick up from our religion. Even you have to ask yourself, and don't talk to me about schools. If I were to sign up to be a math professor in a university, what credentials would I need?
I think you have to agree with that.
A degree in mathematics
And education.
and education. Well, let me ask you this: what if I could prove? Let's say I came to a math, but it was a very out of the box university, and they're willing to hire people with some kind of life experience. Imagine if I would go up against the math professor, and they'd give both of us the same test, and I would do better than the math professor. Could it be that there's something to say that they could hire me to teach math? Maybe. Let's say that it's not necessarily a degree, but it's a proving of your expertise that you're an expert in this field. Let's say, okay. Why is it that in a Judaic department there's no such requirement? I'll give you an example. What did my wife have to study in order to marry me? Don't ask me what I had to study, because you can study much less than what I had to study to be a rabbi. And I didn't study everything. I mean, anybody could be a rabbi today. So, what does a rabbi's wife have to study to marry him? Nothing.
Let's be
Nothing.
Jewish.
So then, what makes somebody who's married to a rabbi all of a sudden more of an authority in Judaism than somebody who actually studied it?
Oh, she gets the title Rabbanit. Not everybody can be a Rabbanit. No, serious.
Okay, I understand.
Not every rabbi's wife can be a Rabbanit.
But they are called this by default. And all of a sudden, let's say I have a woman in my community who has been studying Torah her whole life. And she knows more than a Rabbanit. But if she would go for the same job, she'd probably not get it. Why? So we promote inadequacy in Jewish thought. It's my math teacher has a degree in math, and my science teacher a degree in science, and my philosophy teacher is a philosopher, and my Judaics teacher is somebody who spent a year in seminary in Israel. This is a big problem. I'm not even getting me started about Hebrew teachers.
That's why it looks the way it looks in those.
And this is the problem. And then you have a kid that's like, Judaism is not relevant to my life. You know why Judaism is not relevant to your life? Because your teacher didn't know much about Judaism. So they just kept regurgitating whatever they know about Judaism and or whatever they made up, even worse, about Judaism. You know, for years. Not every person who gets off the airplane from LA can be a Hebrew teacher. Just because they're Israeli doesn't make you a Hebrew teacher. Though,
ask their kids, they're Hebrew.
though, okay, no, I'm going to leave it here. But it shows that we're lacking in seriousness in this department. Now, I believe in lay people being teachers. I do believe lay people being authorities in Judaism. It can be possible, but it requires an education like anything else. I wouldn't dare give medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Now, if I would go study medicine, even if I wouldn't be... So maybe I'd have some degree of leeway in which I could give medical advice. But without that, I'd be killing people. Spiritually, there are people there who are killing people also. And the Jewish community doesn't see it as a problem at all. Mitna'ei hamilah. Now, from the conditions of circumcision, and this is something incredible because people quote this piece a lot, but I've never seen them quote it in the context of conversion, but always in the context of a baby in his Brit Milah. Now, we say this in the baby's Brit Milah, but the baby is not old enough to understand what we're talking about. This should be repeated sometime later in life. From the conditions of the Milah V'sibotea is to understand the rationale behind the Brit Milah, or what? No, there's no rationale. Hashem said to have a Brit. There's not the reason, but this is a reason. Shiskol tamid kihiot Elohit. That a person must remember that this organ is an emblem of divinity, this Brit Milah. Sama Elohim be'ever ha'te'ava ha'goveret v'gibor alea. The reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of all the body parts in the world, made us have a Brit Milah is to show this is the kind of thing that one must have control over. V'lo yishtamesh ba ela karaui. It should only be used for that which is proper. Be'anachat ha'zera karaui uve'et sharaui v'chasher raui. And to use it in a way that is proper, at a time that is proper, with a person that is proper. Ulai yeh matzliach. And this, when a convert constantly thinks about this Brit Milah that they had, this thought maybe will cause them to be successful. Yitzlach lekibul ein Elohi. Now their children will reach that level of holiness of being able to receive divinity because they were conscious about their sexuality, that it can create somebody who's divine. And this reinforces, just because somebody is born Jewish and they have Jewish kids, doesn't mean that those kids were made with the proper intentions to be divine. In fact, if you open up the books of Kabbalah, there are thousands of things. I'm not suggesting everyone here should be a Kabbalist. Thousands of things that husbands and wives should think about while they're together, in order to try as much as possible. Like it says, maybe something successful will come out, and this child can be born with tzaddik tendencies, because he was conceived with righteousness.
This idea, this concept, I never knew until I started studying Judaism. This concept that it's an emblem of divinity, you know. That idea is not taught anywhere else other than Judaism, as far as I know.
Sure. So in other religions, either sexuality is vilified entirely, as like an evil that humans must do because they need pleasure. In Judaism, it's not an evil. It could be an evil if this is their point in life, if this is their purpose, like half the world we see here today. You know, there are people who have marks of how many hundreds of people they've slept with. How many hundreds of people they've slept with. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy world. But that's the world that you live in. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, nobody is denying a person, but a person has to use this power properly. I want to then read to you the next part. But first, to understand that what the Kuzari is saying is that in order for a person to become a convert, they have to become part of the Jewish people. We mentioned this earlier, a few years ago. We mentioned there are two contradictory statements regarding converts in the Talmud. The first one is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu only exiled us among the nations of the world so that we may acquire converts into the Jewish people. In fact, the Mekubalim teach that there are souls that must be brought back to the Jewish people before the redemption can come. And this should sometimes be in the eyes of a rabbi or a dayan or Beit Din when they think about pushing somebody away. Are you pushing away the redemption of the Jewish people? Are you willing to take that chance? What's the other chance? That they might convert and then default, maybe? Or you might stop the whole world from being redeemed. That's sometimes to think about that. The second teaching of the Talmud, it says, Kashim girim l'Yisrael kasapachat. That converts are hard on the Jewish people like a skin affliction. Yeah, that's what it says. Now I'm writing a book now on conversion. And I was given a list by my friend Rabbi Chaim Amsalan of 100 commentaries on that verse. Traditional commentaries that interpret that in a positive light. Meaning, why is it difficult for the Jewish people? Because it's hard for us to be as righteous as a person who converted to Judaism. Their sincerity it was a choice, and therefore that it makes us look bad. When somebody who wasn't Jewish yesterday, all of a sudden today is holier than me. There are other such commentaries like that. I mean, it's difficult for us because we have much more now to live up to. But the pshat that I gave then was, what is a skin affliction? What is a sapachat? A sapachat is some kind of like growth on a person's skin. And we mentioned there that when a group of people come to convert, let's say that you tomorrow morning would go and convert 350,000 people in Israel that are from the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union. They're not sure if they're Jewish or not. Tomorrow morning you do a crash course in conversion. The next day they'd all convert to Judaism. You may solve the problem of them being not Jewish because they would be halachically kosher converts. But you might have created a different problem. And that is that this group never got a chance to be absorbed into the Jewish people. And therefore they will forever stay their own unique entity of people who on the 9th of March converted mass conversion together. And we've had in our history groups of people like that. Who am I talking about from our history? You remember the Kutim? What happened to them? Remember the Kutim? They were afraid, so they converted to Judaism together. And for the rest of Talmudic history, they function as a separate population inside of the land of Israel. They're Jewish, but they're their own kind of Jewish. Why? Because they weren't absorbed in. They always stayed as an external bubble on top of the Jewish skin.
So you have to sort of go like through a slow osmosis
like trickling in one at a time, a family at a time. That way you can become part of Am Yisrael. You see this also when the Jews leave Egypt. Who leaves Egypt with us? The Erev Rav. Those Egyptians that converted either out of awe or out of fear, for whatever reason. It's a fascinating topic. And the problems that they caused the Jewish people along the way because they never viewed themselves fully as Jews. It wasn't an attitude of us towards them, it was them about themselves. We're the Egyptian Jews. And so we're a little Egyptian also. And what that did was it always made them separate and never a part of Am Yisrael. Here, we're discussing something similar. That is that in order to become a true convert, one must allow themselves to be absorbed into the Jewish community. To be swallowed in, so to speak, into the Jewish community. And when that happens, so all of a sudden I no longer view myself as a separate entity, but I'm part of a Jewish community. And therefore there's the Gemara Masechet Yevamot, page 24, mentions that David and Shlomo, when they were the kings of Israel, they officially did not accept converts to Judaism.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yes, you've heard that. The Rambam mentions that there were rogue Beit Dins that converted people to Judaism. And a person who converted in one of these rogue, off-the-grid Beit Dins is considered Jewish. Meaning, and this is a message of the chief rabbi in Israel, even in the days where we had a King David who was allowed to ban conversion in the state of Israel, there were still independent rabbis who were able to do conversions, even though it was not allowed officially, but once it happened, it happened. I'll tell you why now. Because in that point in history, so many people were converting to Judaism, not for the right reasons.
Okay.
This was the most flourishing country in the Middle East. And so I want a worker's visa. I want to be able to open up a business in Jerusalem. I want to get some funding from Jewish entrepreneurs. And this caused many people to convert for the wrong reasons. And our rabbi said, listen, that's not sincere. That's going to cause these people never to actually be absorbed with the Jewish people because that was not the purpose of their conversion. And from here we see that, at least in the eyes of Rabbi Yonatan Halevy, that when it's hard is when it's possible to accept converts, when it's too easy. And there are some Jewish communities in our history that have had a similar ruling because other people tried to join their population for the wrong reasons. And that's the reason, the first question, the second thing we tell a convert in Beit Din is, what do we tell them about? After we ask them why they came to convert, we dissuade them once, no 3 times, they don't get out from. We say, you know that it's very hard to be Jewish? A lot of people hate the Jews. The moment you step out of this room, someone's going to try to kill you for being Jewish. Would you still convert? Maran says, if he says, I'm not even worth to die with the Jews, at that point, we accept him immediately. There are no more questions that are asked. We right away take him to the mikveh, we do a Brit Milah with him here, we take him to the mikveh, and he converts to Judaism. He has to accept upon himself that I am willing to be part of Jewish suffering also. To be part of Jewish history. I don't want to just be my independent person in the Jewish community. I want to be part of the Jewish community. And that leads us then to the next point, and this is perhaps where Rabbi Yonatan Halevy gets difficult to understand. V'im kol zeh. ומי שדבק בדרך הזה, and a person subscribes to this discipline, יהיה לו לזרוע חלק גדול מן הקרובה על האל יתברך. He and his offspring will enjoy a large degree of closeness to Hashem. What does that sound like he's telling you?
You could be a non-Jew, be a good person, and still be close.
Well, here's talking about a person who converted to Judaism.
No, a non-Jew. He says. A non-Jew subscribes. So.
Correct? And he's referring to a person on his path of conversion. You're right, the wording here. It doesn't say non-Jew in the Hebrew text.
No?
No.
So, so what does it mean?
It says, and if a person subscribes to the aforementioned discipline.
Why did they say non-Jew?
He probably was referring to the convert, and it's a mistake here. V'im kol zeh. Now this is where it gets tricky. I told you I'm going to read it first, and then I'll explain. V'im kol zeh lo yishtaveh hager hanichnas b'toratenu im ha'ezrach. But nevertheless, a convert is still not the equal of a Jew who was born into the faith. Ki ha'ezrachim levadam hem ru'im lenvuah.
It's not so true.
Right, correct, which is why I'm reading it to you, and then I'm going to explain.
Yeah, right.
But nevertheless, because only Jews from birth can achieve prophecy. V'zulatam, and aside from them, tachlit inyanam she'kablu mehem v'shu chachamim v'chasidim ach lo nevi'im. Converts can accomplish anything else. They can be wise and saintly, but they themselves cannot be prophets.
I'm going to give you an example of an exception.
Let's read the footnote down here, and I'll go into it in depth. I didn't actually know that I did all this research, and then I found out now there's a footnote. So I should have looked at the footnote first. Okay.
That's fine.
Si Kiddushin, and there's a comment here, asked about one of the biblical prophets, Obadiah, who was a convert. Obadiah was a convert. He answered that Obadiah was the exception to the rule because an Edomite was needed to prophesy about the downfall of Edom. Meaning, his prophecy was limited to the downfall of Edom. In general, however, converts cannot be prophets. Some have argued that Rambam, by virtue of his omission of any limitations based on lineage, maintains that all people, even non-Jews, are capable of prophecy. So this is Rambam by virtue of omission. What is conclusive, however, is what the Rambam writes in Igeret Teman, in his Epistle to Yemen, part 2. He states explicitly that non-Jews are capable of prophecy, and he cites Eov, Tzofar, Bildad, Eliphaz, and Elihu, all from the book of Eov, as examples. In the beginning of the book, there was a commentary that discussed some of this inside. But let's back up. Okay. That's where Rabbi Yonatan Halevy is. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy understands prophecy as somebody who is not just connected to his own personal Judaism, but he's connected to the history of the Jewish people. And essentially, prophecy is using the past through divinity to come up with what will be in the future. But if a person doesn't have that biological past, then they are lacking the ability to tell the future about what will happen to the Jewish people. Ovadiah we mentioned. The Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin has a quote in page 39. The Gemara says that sometimes you take a match that is made out of wood to burn down a whole forest. Ovadiah was the match. He came from Edom, and he was created to burn down his own forest, the people of Edom, which he converted from. Meaning that Ovadiah was limited as to what he prophesied about the downfall of Edom. This was his prophecy. And because of that, it's not a contradiction to what Rabbi Yonatan Halevy is saying. And furthermore, perhaps Ovadiah was only able to prophesy about Edom because he came from Edom, and therefore he had that history of Edom, that he was able to foresee the future of Edom, like a person who was born Jewish. The problem is that the Rambam doesn't mention this as a halakha. And it's not going to be the first time in the world that we find Rabbi Yonatan Halevy and the Rambam disagreeing about something. Okay. Many people have used Rabbi Yonatan Halevy and this specific statement to show that Rabbi Yonatan Halevy is a racist. That even a person who converts to Judaism, for him, is not good enough. It's not what he's saying. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy has a very specific approach as to what it takes to be a prophet. Let me ask you, how many people do you know that are prophets?
I don't know.
No.
Is it offensive to any of them that they're not prophets?
No.
What if they're very righteous people? Doesn't make a difference. They're not a prophet. Big deal. To say that someone can't be a prophet, I'm not a prophet either, so why should I be upset about that? But still, there's something here that's bothersome, and I wish to understand. The rabbis in the Talmud say that all the blessings in the world you say before you do the mitzvah. You always make a blessing first. And they give an exception. The exception is a convert who converts to Judaism. When he goes to the mikveh, when does he make the blessing? Afterwards. Why?
Because he's not Jewish.
Before he's not Jewish. How can he say I was commanded to go to the mikveh? He wasn't. At this point he wasn't. Now that he went to the mikveh, became Jewish, then he could say the blessing.
But isn't he like go twice?
Okay, so some say he should go a second time. But Mikaladim, once would be okay. Some people do 7, all kinds of people do all kinds of numbers.
But the blessings you have to go to the restroom.
Right. Yeah.
Is that you say afterwards?
Very good. That's not a blessing on a mitzvah. That's a blessing of thanks.
Oh,
And kind of like when a person travels a certain distance and they come to say a blessing, they say it after their trip, not before they go on the trip, because it's a blessing of thanks. Very good. There are 2 categories of blessings. Blessings on food, after blessings on food. Blessings of Shevach and Hoda, of thanksgiving, and then blessings on a mitzvah. The ones on a mitzvah always come first. From here you have people who say, oh, when a woman goes to the mikvah, she should say the blessing afterwards. Or when a person lights Shabbat candles, they should say the blessing afterwards. When a person washes their hands, they should say a blessing afterwards. Where are these people learning this from? They say before they wash their hands, maybe their hands weren't clean enough to make a blessing, and they're like the person who wasn't Jewish, meaning before they did the mitzvah, they were not in a place that they were able to make the blessing. They were not in a state of being able to make a blessing. So there's a very simple way to fix it. Go wash your hands. I mean, why do you have to... In fact, Maran, when he records this halakha of washing, Maran says the halakha is to make a blessing before you wash your hands. So, but there's a custom that some people make a blessing after they wash their hands, and then they wash their hands a second time. This is when Sfaradim say, but the Maran says that you're allowed to make a blessing after you wash your hands. It's true. But he says you wash your hands, make a blessing, and wash your hands again. Why? The first time was to clean your hands, and the second time was for the mitzvah. So according to Maran, why could you make the blessing afterwards? Because you're not really making it afterwards. You're making it before. He's simply allowing you to wash your hands even when you know they're not dirty.
What about candle lighting?
So candle lighting is the same. They say that because when I'm going to make the bracha, Shabbat's going to start, and then I can't light the candles. So they reverse the order around. But if the Gemara says that there's an exception to the rule, the Gemara would bring down all the other exceptions to the rule as well. And when the Gemara does not bring down the exceptions to the rule, you know that there are no other exceptions to the rule. That's by fact of omission. Because the Gemara omitted something. You see, if the Gemara never told you about any exceptions, so you can make 2 arguments. Either there are no exceptions, or there are exceptions, but the Gemara didn't list any of them. But the moment the Gemara lists an exception, what do you know? If there were more, it would have listed them. And it's the same thing here. If the Rambam had, and I'm putting aside his letter about the Jews in Yemen, the reason we put aside the letters, there's been a push, and especially in Ashkenazi communities, that is, that don't accept what the Rambam writes in his letters, And don't accept what the Rambam writes in his Guide to the Perplexed, because over there he's just being an apologetic. If I didn't see the words in writing, I would never say that. You can only accept what the Rambam says in his book of Halakha. So when dealing with such a community, you have to work within the framework of that. I mean, the Rambam already said to the Jews in Yemen that non-Jews can be prophets if they convert to Judaism. So a convert can be a prophet. But in his Mishnah Torah, he doesn't say that. Rather, when he gives in a list of exceptions to who can be a prophet, he doesn't mention a convert. In which case, what does that tell you?
Converts can.
A convert can be a prophet.
Didn't we have?
He just mentioned, the Rambam just mentioned a few of them.
Yeah.
From the book of Eov and Obadiah.
Yeah.
Now, let me read you a letter. I've read this to you maybe 2 years ago, but not in this class. There was a famous convert to Judaism called Rabbi Ovadia the Convert.
This one?
No, he's not in here. No, very good. It's not Ovadia the Prophet. It was in the times of the Rambam. It was a person in the Rambam's generation. That's funny. Rabbi Ovadia the Convert writes a letter to the Rambam in which his rabbi said that the Muslims are idol worshippers. And the Rambam, and we studied this in Kollel a few weeks ago, the Rambam says it's not true. What your rabbi says is incorrect. Muslims are not idol worshippers. The second part of that conversation was that Rabbi Ovadia's rabbi called him a fool. And he felt that was really harsh, especially as a convert, especially somebody who probably was a Muslim beforehand. He took it personally, and there's 36 biblical prohibitions not to oppress the convert, and one of them would be, if I would call a born Jew a fool, I would violate a few avirot. I'd violate some other ones. But by a convert, anything we do wrong is another 36 biblical prohibitions. So he says, "Ad sheishiv lecha rabbecha shelo kehogen." When your rabbi, sorry, not this. "Ad shenitzavta libcha v'nichlamta v'kara alecha anek sil kivalto." He told you about you should answer a fool like a fool. Meaning, he was calling you a fool. "Avasher yeshivcha rabbecha shelo kehogen v'etzivcha v'chlimcha ukaracha ksir." That which your rabbi spoke to you improperly, and he embarrassed you, humiliated you, called you a fool. "Avara gdola biyado v'chet gadol chatan." It's a terrible sin in his hands, and he violated a terrible offense. "V'karov b'einai sheshogeg hu." I would like to say that he made a mistake. "V'raui lo levakesh mimcha mechila," and it's proper for him to ask forgiveness from you, "af al pi she'ata talmido," even though you are his student. "V'achar kach yetzum," and afterwards he should fast. "V'yitzak," and he should call out to Hashem. "V'yitpalel," and he should pray to Hashem for forgiveness. "V'yichana," and he should submit to Hashem. "Ulai yitkaper lo," maybe Hashem will forgive him. Maybe. "V'imcho lo haya litaleh," maybe Hashem will forgive him. "V'chi shikor haya zeh v'lo yada," maybe your rabbi is a drunkard. He didn't know. He's making fun of his rabbi now. "Sheb-36 mekomot hizira Torah al hager," the Torah 36 times commands us to be careful about a convert. "V'ayeh diber v'ger," "V'ilo amar hu ha'emet v'hita ata to'eh," said, even if he was right and you were wrong, which is not the case, is you're right, the halakha is that you're right. "Haya lo lasbir lecha panim u'daber lecha rakot." He said he should have spoken to you kindly and explained things to you gently. "Kol sheken she'amart ha'emet v'hu ha'to'eh," he said, how much more so when you said the truth and he was the one who's incorrect. "V'ad shezeh doresh achar ha'ishmaelim mehem uvdei avodah zara im lav," said, while he's so busy, your rabbi, looking to find out if the Muslims are idol worshippers or not, "Haya lo lachush la'atzmo," he should worry about himself first. "Al ha'kas sheka'as," that he was so angry, "ad sheichlim ger tzedek shelo kadin," until he reached this terrible state where he offended a righteous convert for no reason, against halakha. V'kvar amur Hazal, my rabbis already taught us, "Kol ha'koes yeh beinecha k'oved avodah zara," that anybody who gets angry, you should treat him like an idol worshipper. The Arizal says when a person gets angry, they lose their neshama. Hashem takes it away from them.
Probably gets it back.
Hopefully they still count this as a minyan, right? We're gonna do this. When Rav Peretz told me you want to study the Rambam, he said read his letters. Because in the Rambam's letters, you see who he actually is as a person. Not who he is as a legal rabbi or as a philosopher, as a human being. He's writing here a letter to... He doesn't have to write a letter back to anybody. Someone sends him a letter. Rabbi Ovadia the convert. He could say, I side with his rabbi. We know rabbis have to cover each other's backs. And Rambam says, no, he has to stick with the truth, and he writes a letter, a long letter. Most of the Rambam's letters are a few sentences, and this one is a few pages.
And it was to the Yemenites.
Well, this one is not to the Yemenites. This one is to this Rabbi Ovadia the convert. You should know that which our Torah commands us to respect the converts is great. על האב ועל האם נצטווינו בכבוד ומורא, ועל הנביאים לשמוע להם. He says that our parents were commanded to honor them and to fear them, and on the prophets were commanded to listen to them. ואפשר שיכבד אדם וירא וישמע ממי שאינו אוהבו. A person can still respect and fear from and listen to a person he doesn't love. His boss, he can listen to him. ועל הגרים, by the converts, Hashem commands us, ציוונו באהבה רבה המסורה ללב, ואהבתם את הגר. We're commanded to love him. We don't have to love our parents. It's not a halakha to love your parents. You don't have to love the prophets even. Yirmiyahu the prophet. You don't have to love them. Hashem commands us by converts in a mitzvah that's connected to the heart. כמו שציוונו לאהוב את שמו, ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך. The only other mitzvah we're commanded to love is to love Hashem. והקדוש ברוך הוא בכבודו אוהב גר, and Hashem himself loves converts. שנאמר, ואוהב גר לתת לו לחם ושמלה. The Torah tells us that Hashem loves converts. He nourishes, provides for the converts. So we're commanded towards converts more than we're commanded towards the prophets, more than we're commanded to our own parents. It could be interesting here, halachically, if a person wanted to marry somebody who converted to Judaism, and their parents didn't want to. Now, in general, you don't have to listen to your parents in terms of marriage. It's not their place. But it could be that there's an extra reason not to listen to one's parents, because the mitzvah of loving a convert is more than the mitzvah of fearing one's parents. It could be. It's something to look into. וזה שקרא לך כסיל, תמה גדולה הוא. So this which called you a fool is very strange to me. אדם שהניח אביו, a person who left his parents, ומולדתו, in his country, ומלכות עמו, in the nation that he belongs to. וידם הנטויה, and the fact that the non-Jews always have the upper hand in the world. He left all of that greatness. והבין בעין ליבו, and he realized in his heart, ובא, he came, ונדבק באומה זו. And he clings to the Jewish people. Shehi hayom lemitav goy. We are the most disgusting among all the nations of the world. Nobody wants to be Jewish. Nobody wants to be us. V'hikir v'yada shedatam dat emet, and he came to the recognition on his own that our faith is the true faith. V'tzadak v'evin derechei Yisrael, he became righteous and followed the ways of Israel. V'yada shekol hadatot gnuvot midatam. This is what the Rambam says. That he realized that all the religions in the world were stolen from the Jewish people. Zeh mosif, v'zeh goreh. One religion takes away some things, one religion adds some things, but it's all a plagiarism of our religion.
I agree.
Zeh meshaneh, one changes, v'zeh mechazev, and one destroys, v'mechapeh al Hashem dvarim asher lo ken, and he says things about Hashem that aren't true. Zeh hores yisodot, this one destroys other foundations of our faith. This one flips our faith upside down. He's talking about all the world religions. He knew all this. And he chased after Hashem. And he went through a path of holiness. And he reaches under the wings of the presence of Hashem Shekhinah. And he literally studied Torah at the feet of Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rabban shel kol hanvi'im alav shalom. Depends who is the rabbi of all the prophets, bless their memory in peace. V'chafetz b'mitzvotav, and he desired the mitzvot. V'nasa'o libo lekarva la'or bo chayim. Ulal b'malot ha'malachim, and decided to go higher and to become like an angel of Hashem. V'lismoach v'litaneg b'simchat ha'tzadikim, and to rejoice like the righteous rejoice. V'yishlich ha'olam hazeh milibo, and he got rid of the desire to be great in this world. V'lo pana l'ravim v'sh... Okay, I don't even know what he's quoting here, pasuk from Tehillim. מי שזו מעלתו, if somebody is this great, ksil kare, he would call him a fool? Subhanallah. Khalil lacha, God forbid. Lo ksil kare Hashem shemcha. Hashem, says Ovadia, Hashem doesn't call you a fool. Ela maskil, he calls you an intellectual. Umevin, and one who understands. Upikeach, and a wise person. V'holech nechachot, and one who walks on the path of righteousness. That's what Hashem calls you, not a fool. Talmido shel Avraham Avinu. You literally are a student of Avraham Avinu. I'll tell you this, the fact that so many converts today choose to just say their name Ben Avraham, the son of Avraham, so someone thinks maybe their dad was Avraham, because they're too embarrassed to say Avraham Avinu, someone will know they're a convert, Avraham our father. I would say, if it was up to me, I would choose to go up to the Torah with the name Avraham Avinu. Stand up for it. I'm better than other people. I am direct student of Avraham Avinu. What can I tell you? The Jewish community is so off the rails that what I'm saying now sounds crazy to anybody who's ever been part of a normal Jewish community. Why is he a student of Avraham Avinu? Because Avraham Avinu also, he left his parents, in his land. V'nata achrei Hashem, and he strayed after Hashem. And then he ends off the letter and says, U'mi sheberach et Avraham rabbecha, he who blessed Avraham your rabbi. So Mishaberach, he's giving him now a blessing. I don't know any other letter like the Rambam like this. They're all just so simple. V'natan lo scharo ba'olam hazeh u'le'olam haba, and the one who gave Avraham Avinu reward in this world and in the next world. Hu yivarech otcha, he should bless you. V'yiten lecha schachah k'ra'ui, he should give you the proper reward. Ba'olam hazeh, in this world, v'le'olam haba, and in the next world. V'yarich yamecha ad shetoreh b'mishpatei Hashem l'chol hadato. I give you a blessing that says you should reach the level of Torah where you become a teacher of Torah to the whole Jewish people. Where you'll become the rabbi of the Jewish people. And I bless you that you should see all the comfort that Hashem will give the Jewish people when Mashiach comes. And it should all be good for us and for the whole Jewish people. Signed, Moshe ben Maimon Asfaradi, Moshe the son of Maimon from Spain. According to the Rambam, and sure there's more letters he writes to the converts here in a similar fashion. The Rambam says a few times, there's no difference between you and I. There's no difference in you and I. Over and over and over again. So now all of a sudden we're going to come and make differences. You can't be a prophet. You can't. I believe Rabbi Yonatan Halevy is getting at a point with the Kuzari. And his whole point is that being part of Am Yisrael is more than just a religion, it's part of a nationality. And he's imagine trying to explain to somebody that you can change your nationality. And today people can change genders. There's a movement now to change your race.
Huh?
Yeah. I'm a transracial. No, I don't know what will happen. Who knows what it'll look like in a few years. But you might have a person who's white saying that he's black, or a black person saying he's white, or a Californian saying that he's a New Yorker. I don't know what will happen, but it could all happen. The world is not going to place. But we actually believe this in Judaism. We believe that a person can change their nationality to be Jewish, because it's not just a religion. You are a Jew, and a Jew is a nationality also. That's the point of the Kuzari. I wouldn't learn a halakha from here that a non-Jew can't prophesy. A convert who was a non-Jew can't prophesy. That's not what I would learn from here. But even if you would, I'm telling you the Rambam is of the complete different approach, a completely different genre. There's a debate, and I have to be clear, and I have to be honest because this is important. There is one area in which some authorities claim that a convert cannot be. It's the one difference in halakha. I'll tell it to you, and then we'll end for today. Your parents have a whole chapter how converts to Judaism are greater than people who were born Jewish. I want to read to the Rambam. The Rambam says in the Laws of Kings, in the 4th chapter, Ein mamidin melech, we cannot appoint as a king mikal gerim, somebody who was converted to Judaism. So to be a king in the Jewish people, one has to be actually born Jewish. But not just that, afilu achav kama dorot, ad shetei imam Yisrael. Even a few generations. A person has to have a mother who was Jewish, born Jewish, in order to be able to be a king. Shnamar, like it says in the Torah, Lo tuchal latet alecha ish nochri, you are not allowed to put on top of yourself as a king a person who is a foreigner, asher lo achichahu, who is not your brother. And they understand from here that his mother at least has to be born Jewish. V'lo lemalchut bilvad, says the Rambam, and not just for being the king, ela lechol sarot sheb'Yisrael, any position of authority in the Jewish people. And I'm going to explain. Lo sar tzava, you can't be the chief of staff of the Jewish military. Lo sar chamishim usar asara, he can't be even any officer, a lieutenant, a general. Afilu memuna al amat hamayim shemechalek mimenu lasadot, he can't even be in charge of the agricultural system that gives water to the farms. Ve'en tzarich lomar dayan or nasi, he can't be not a judge and a bedin and not a prince. Shlo yeh ela Yisrael, this must be only someone who's Jewish. From your brothers you appoint a king.
King David was the great grandson of Ruth.
Correct. And it says here, one of his parents has to be born Jewish. Like you find by Rechavam, that he was the son of Naamah, the Ammonite. But his father was Jewish, and therefore he was appointed as a king. Now let's understand here why this is this way. There's in the same chapter of the Rambam, or maybe not exactly here, but maybe it's Hilchot Sanhedrin, the Rambam mentions that one cannot appoint a woman to a position of authority either. And he gives the same logic here. The understanding is that a king, what is a king? Who appoints the king? Who votes for him? Nobody votes for him. It's a forced position of authority. When someone is forced under someone else's authority, the worst thing that can happen is that they'll feel resentful. They've already accepted the fact that they have to be under someone else's authority. But to be under someone else's authority who I don't view, for a societal reason, for a social reason, I don't view them to be my equal, and I still have to bow down to them, that makes me more upset. It's a problem. It takes away from that person's prestige, their integrity. And this is, you remember where Rav Uziel said that women could be judges in a court and that women could be mayors of cities in Israel, and his logic was that nowadays, how are these people appointed? Through a democratic vote. And if the community says, I want this person to be my judge, I want them to be my mayor, I want them to be my president, in that situation, it's no longer a forced position of authority. And in that kind of situation, says Rav Uziel, there's no more problem. The whole problem here is that it's someone forcing themselves as the king over other people. But if it was voted democratically, then this whole halakha goes by the wayside.
In America, you can't be president unless you are a born American.
What's the logic that the country gives because of that? What's the logic why in America you can't be president unless you're born here? It's a similar idea, by the way.
Yeah. You have your shared background, your shared history, your shared...
So here I'm giving we're better than American president. Here, if a person is appointed by the community, then that's fine. In fact, there's mentioning tshuvot and halakha, but if a person is appointed the Rosh Hashiva, and he himself is a convert, it couldn't be proper for him to have somebody else on his staff that gives discipline, that punishes the students or gives them detention or whatever, grounds them or takes away. Why? It could be that it's better that he shouldn't put himself in this kind of problem, halachically, because a Rosh Hashiva is not elected democratically. A Rosh Hashiva is appointed on you. He's on top of you and nobody's asking any questions. But it's not a halakha. Just maybe it's a suggestion, better than it's supposed to. The exception to this rule, aside from democratically elected situation, is if he's judging another convert. He can be on the bedin if the other person in the bedin who's coming to him is also a ger. It's for this that Rav Peretz goes against mainstream halakha. Mainstream halakha is that converts cannot make a bedin to convert other people to Judaism. Rav Peretz says they can, because this is no different than the one who judges other converts, in which he can make them also Jewish. But you should know that I've seen rabbis write articles. No, they can't. I believe our path is correct, anyways.
I mean, once they converted, they're Jewish, so
Right.
This is
So
again
that's-
seems to
they-
be a
they-
social norm. And what can I tell you that unfortunately the scene in the Jewish social community is like this. This should change. In my community, perhaps it's different, but in another community, I can't speak for them. And so again, it boils down to, like the Shaar says, "V'ger shepasu ledun tizah." That which you say a convert cannot be a judge. Hu dafka al yedei kfiyah. It's only if he's forced upon him as a judge. Aval im yekablu alav ledun, mutar. If I accept, I say I want him to be my judge. Of course, that's okay. So if the Jewish community accepts a certain person as their dayan, that's absolutely all right. But again, what you find here is different than what the Kuzari was saying. The Kuzari is talking here on a spiritual level, receiving prophecy, being connected to the collective memory of Israel, the history of Israel. Here, this is something technical. This is here is a social problem like we had by women, we also had by. There are still people who are using this argument to not allow women to be spiritual leaders, because the Rambam says you can't. But the logic that the Rambam says you can't is different. We allow women today can be attorneys, no? They can be doctors and presidents and all kinds of what. So why not? We've been to this in our rabbi. Why not a rabbi? It depends what a rabbi is. But for the most part, what is a rabbi? It's a spiritual leader, glorified, unlicensed social worker. Why a woman cannot serve in that position, I don't know. Why they shouldn't be called rabbi, I'll tell you. A rabbi in Hebrew is a masculine term. Come up with another term that's feminine. A rabbanit is a great term. If it was up to me, somebody who marries a rabbi shouldn't be called a rabbanit. In Talmudic literature, the wife of a rabbi is called the wife of a rabbi. Eshet chaver. She's the wife of a chaver, of a Torah scholar. She gets a certain kind of respect. We stand up for her when she comes to the room. Why? Because that's respectful to her husband. But not because she's worth anything on her own. But if she did study and she became something important, why not call her rabbanit? Why, that's even if she's not married to a rabbi. I don't know what you call him then. Rebbitzin. I don't know what you call him. But there should be such a thing, and it should be, even if somebody wanted to standardize it, if there were big tzaddikim in the Jewish people that said we're going to standardize such a, and not in order to make more women that look like male rabbis, but to make a quality spiritual leader who is a woman, who is in touch with that whole feminine aspect of Judaism. So there shouldn't be halakhic questions that shouldn't be asked to men anymore. It makes sense. There should be women who are bikiyot in this. And this is not a radical idea. This was done in our history before. But it can be done again, as long as it comes from a holy place, from a place of purity, from a place of goodness, not from a place of protesting and riots and rights. They're a place of kedusha. There are such women that I stand up for, that I would ask questions to. There are, and we can make that official. I'm glad that it should be. Who knows? Maybe it'll be one of Shiviti's projects in the future. Everyone should have a good evening.